What's up, everybody? This is DJ Lionhead from the Support Cha Boi Podcast. We got a great guest today. We've had him before. He's back on the podcast. He's a man who worked with so many artists and did so much. This is like take 2 or 3 of us doing this, but we getting it going, you guys. This man is the one and the only Young Man Nük. What's up, Nük? Man.
What up, DJ Lionhead? How you, bro?
Good. I'm glad I got you all here. I'm glad we're doing this thing. This is good. This is dope. All right. So, first thing I have to ask you, since last time we spoke, you were working on a project. How far are you on that journey of the project that you were lastly on? You talk.
You know what? I can't even remember what project that was in truth, but I do know I did create a project. I created 2 projects since the last time we talked. So it might have been the one that I initially told you about. But I always got some irons in the fire. But yeah, listen, me and my man Killjoy, we came up with an EP.
Okay.
Fuck with Shits. That's on all streaming platforms. The Spotify's, the Apples, the Pandoras, wherever. Yeah, you can go get that Fuck with the Shits. It's 8 tracks. A couple of different features. My man Kill Gone, my man Different. We all came through, and this is basically me and Killjoy sliding on some tracks and making it happen. And we actually working on the follow-up to that one right there. And then my long-awaited EP or album art form. This is the EP. I was working on an album art form, but I feel that I wasn't in the position to put that together the way. Oh, upside down. Hold on, I wasn't in the position to put that together the way I wanted it to. So I just put together this EP of the songs I was working on with the album. This is the only place that you will be able to find a song with me and MC Breed that is not on the streaming sites right now. And in all honesty, this is a collector's edition. I've only printed 100 of these. And once these are gone, I will never print this particular disc again. I'm going to change the art form. I'm going to change the artwork, and I'm actually going to only include the 5 songs that are on here. There are currently 6 tracks, but like 13 songs. So, there's a bonus track with like 8 songs on it. So, this is a collector's edition. If you have this right here, that's amazing for sure. Cause I will not be reprinting that one again for sure. And truth be told, I don't even know if I'm gonna put it on the streaming sites. I do have a single on the streaming sites, Grandma Love. That's on all of the streaming sites. That's from that project. However, I'm not sure if I want to release any more. I initially released the MC Breed song on the streaming sites, but then, I had a slight conflict with the estate of MC Breed. And, everything is love now. We working on something else, but in the same breath, because of that slight conflict, I decided to remove the song from the streaming sites and then replace it with Grandma's Love. So those are the 2 projects that I actually have released. Fuck with the Shits is available physically and in the streaming form. However, the art form EP is only available in physical.
Do you intend on performing any of the tracks?
You know what? All of the tracks were singles. So, even the MC Breed song. So I got Be Smooth. I got Nothing But a Thing. That's the Breed song. Coldest, Grandma's Love, and I'm Gonna Get You. Those were actually all singles on the album. And originally it was 13 tracks, 10 songs, and every single one of the songs were meant for me to be able to perform. So I'm going to perform songs from that project as well as songs that are not on that project. And then as far as is concerned, that's me and my man Killjoy. However, I still will, whenever the time permits, get out there and perform those on live as well. At least my verse portion.
Got you. So how long have you known Killjoy?
I met Killjoy at the GERD Awards. I actually met him back in 2019. And, I was introduced to him, but it wasn't until I want to say not the following year because that was COVID, but the year following that, I want to say 2022. Right. We linked up and we decided to put the project together. And, it took a minute because actually 2023, I think that's when it was because I was in Memphis. And so that year, 2023, we linked up and I said, we should work on the project together. And, it took us about 9 months to go back and forth and, just collaborate on songs. And, he sent me some things. I sent him some things. But, after the 9 months, the project came together and, That's what we have right here. So we released it last year. I want to say in November. So it was 2025 in December.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe, this time be moving quick these days. So,
Man. So what was the hardest part, hardest thing that made you guys take so long? I wouldn't say long. I would say, what was the hardest part to get the project done for you guys at the time when you were making it?
truth, it was just me. I got a lot going on. Everybody has a lot going on, but we talk about me, and I'm a single father of 3. I'm working 2 jobs, was taking care of my grandmother that has some mental health going on, and just finding the time for me to sit down and actually put aside enough time so I can write these verses. That was the hardest part. I wake up in the morning, get my children off to school, and then after I get them off to school, I go start my other job. And then I get off work, and then I jump into daddy mode, and then for daddy mode for a little bit, and I had to go into the other job. It was just a lot of back and forth, bouncing around, trying to get this thing together. And that was honestly the hardest part, was just finding the time to sit down and create.
Right.
I look at it this way. I love doing what I do for sure. This is a passion of mine. It doesn't have anything to do with the money aspect. However, the money is not coming the way that it needs to at this point. So, if I was making 30, 40,000 a year just from music, then, I would have that time, but unfortunately I'm not. So, until it gets to that point, I just have to create and find time when I can.
Right. And do you agree that for those people out there who are the Young Man Nük's fans, they don't know him personally, but they like his music, and they're like, man, you need to hurry up and drop this. You don't need to hurry up and drop this. Would you say those are the reasons why you can't just be out there quickly dropping singles week by week, month to month?
With me, I don't do microwave music. I'm not going to starve my audience with music that's not, if this is food for thought, I'm not going to give you something that's not nutritious. You dig? Mm-hmm. So every time I put the pen to the pad, you definitely going to get your full course meal from that, even if it's just a verse or if it's a song or if it's a project. So, do not make music with the intention of it to have replay value, so you're not just going to listen to it and bang it for a week or 2 and then move on to the next. This is a song that you can come back to. Like the Art Form project, those songs are 20 years old. And, all of those songs are 20 years old. And, except for Be Smooth, that's about 15 years. However, saying that to say this is new to everybody else. And the fact that I was able to take a 20-year-old song and release it in 2026, it shows that it has replayability. It shows it has longevity and staying power. So, if I would not have said that, nobody would know.
I had this question that I usually judge when I make music and I work with people who make music and we write songs together. I had this one rule. Now, you may not have this rule, but do you believe it makes sense to you? Like, what I would try to tell the artist when you do a song with me or in the studio with me, try not to talk about things that's going on. Well, I'm sorry, not nothing's going on. I would say don't talk about fads and the year in the song. Because sometimes when you start dating the song, yeah, we're back on that 92 trip. You know what I mean? And then people are like, we're going to come with that 92 thing. You know what I mean? Instead of just giving it a shot and, and just seeing, letting it develop. And, you know what I mean? It builds an expectation that you're about to be on some, I don't know, Gossip X type shit or something. You know what I mean?
I look at it like this,
you would probably start rapping like that instead of just giving them a chance. And, let the song build. So when you always felt that way, that when you start a song off talking about, yeah, this is how it is in 91, you kind of like not only dating it, but it's like you're throwing expectation too early before they hear the song. Am I wrong about that? It's okay if I'm wrong.
I won't say you're wrong. I won't say that you're wrong because, music is very subjective. However, I understand where you're coming from because the moment you start saying things that are current in a song, 10 years from now, that's not going to be the case. Just for example, when people will be like, I'm dropping bombs, like Saddam is dead. You
Right.
know what I mean? So you can't say that anymore. You can't say I'm dropping bombs like Osama. Osama's dead. I'm not dropping towers like that. Although the towers are gone. So, those are things that, I know that I find myself trying not to do. However, if I do it in the creative way, like a while ago, a dude told me, he was all like, man, I'm tired of people saying I'm a bad boy like Diddy. And I said something similar to that, but I didn't say that exact line. And, I can't even get the line for you right now, but it's just the way I refreaked it. He said, I like how you did that. He said, that won't get a pass. So, there's certain things that, one, to get overused, two, you date it, and three, you kind of put yourself in a corner and you build this space that really doesn't exist. It really won't exist. You're making it obsolete in a way,
For example, there was one rapper, I'm not going to say the rapper's name, but I did a show and they performed, and the music they did at the time, it was quite a while ago. They actually tried to come back and do something not too long ago and do the exact same song. And that song was it's called They All Be On Me. Some of the lines were like, when I wear them red monkey jeans, they be all on me. I'm like, and then he said, well, when they see me roll in my spinners, they be all on me. I'm like, spinning? Today you talking about spinning?
Yeah. See, I got a song called Nights and Weekends. And granted, I wrote the song. The story behind the song, that rapper Chingy, he's my cousin through marriage. My cousin and his cousin, my first cousin and his first cousin got married. And it just so happened that they did so before he signed with Disturbing the Peace. So after he signed with Disturbing the Peace, his cousin, or he sent his cousin a care package, they keep in contact. And my cousin at the time was my manager, my cousin M. Frank. And he was like, yo, we about to get you signed to Luda. And with that being in my mind, I started writing songs, kind of like what Chingy was writing. And Nights and Weekends was one of those songs. And I kind of took his bounce from Holiday Inn, and I just did it my own thing. But the song is so dated because I'm talking about nights and weekends because, cell phones at that point in time, you could only really get down on nights and weekends after 7 and on the weekends. If you're from that age, you already know what it is. So I went back and I listened to that song not too long ago, sometime this year. And I was like, man, there's no way I could bring this back. But it's still a hot song to me, but it's just so dated because what did I say? Man, I said something like get connected like AT&T or Motorola. Man, Motorola phones, nobody has Motorola phones these days like how they did, it's wild. It's wild. Sprint don't even have cell phones no more, but that was in the line. So, our song is really, really dated, but it's a hot song. It's a hot song, but it's a hot song for the time. However, I want to release it again. I want to just put it out there just so I can get it out of my vault. That's my fault because at the time we weren't able to, we didn't have it how we had it right now. It was really hand to mouth. I've sold a CD with 2 songs on it for $20. That doesn't happen now these days. You know what I mean? People rather spend the $10 a month and get as limited songs as they can instead of supporting the artist directly. So, it's just a different time. I can put it out there on the streaming sites and it can get a worldwide appeal as opposed to just in my neighborhood type thing.
Yeah. So you telling me if somebody in the crowd was like, hey, play that one song when you was talking about nights and weekends, you ain't going to perform it?
Man, listen, it's all about what they want to hear at the end of the day. I come up there with my set list and I rock my set list, but if I'm getting requests, that means there are people in the audience that know these particular songs, and I gotta, I gotta give it to you. My whole thing is this, I know that if I ever go on tour that's self-funded, I want to make sure that it's an intimate event. I don't want no more than 100 people there. You're going to pay a nice price ticket, but you also going to get a lot in return. But I want to be able to meet everybody that shows up. I want to be able to have a physical interaction with everybody that shows up to my particular going on. So, I'm going to go with a set list in mind and rock for about an hour or so, even more. Afterwards, if somebody say, hey, yo, you want to trying to give requests, that's the perfect moment for me because these are people who are really intimate. They paying the ticket price, whatever the ticket price, $50 to $100. They paying that ticket price to come see me perform. Of course, I'm going to cater to them because that's the reason I'm there is because they want me there. You dig? So while we in this mode, I'm going to give you my project that I'm putting out to you. But if you got some requests, man, let's rock it, especially if it's from a catalog that a lot of people know. Let me see. I got this project that I did way back in the day. And it's to the point where if you really got this project, you special. Man, I only did one mixtape. You dig? I only did one mixtape, Highway Chronicles. and it had 15 songs on it. Now, actually, it had 15 tracks on it, but sometimes it had up to 17 songs. It just depended on, because I hand burnt these discs. I put my signature on every single disc. I wrote on every single disc. Over 1,000 of these I passed out at one point in time. And I did it to people's hands. Some people paid money. Some people got it for free. But at the end of the day, this is the only mixtape I had. It's never been on the internet. And if people out there that got this CD from me, you got it directly from me. There was no other way to get it. If you got this CD and you know any songs on this CD, you like, yo, man, I need to hear that, man. That's special right there, for real.
I feel it. Okay. So I have these questions, and it's mostly about the ups and downs of being an independent artist like yourself.
Yeah.
I had to write these down because I was really thinking about these, but there's some pretty good ones. Let's see. I see what you think about these. Okay. So first of all, Young Man Nük, how do you balance creating what feels true to you versus what the algorithm seems like it wants from you?
You know what? I am the algorithm. There wouldn't be an algorithm without me. I create what I create just because I create. I had this conversation with my man D Kappa out in Chicago today. I was like, there's going to come a time, and I don't really want to say too much right now, but there's going to come a time when I am going to split myself, and I'm going to make sure that I'm catering to this algorithm. In the same breath, I'm still catering to me as an artist. Right. I'm going to be able to create these songs that, like my man's, what do you say? Rest in peace to my granny. She got hit with a bazooka. This song is so crazy to me. This song is so crazy to me. It's not something that I would personally create. However, it is viral. But I understand why it's viral, because it's so far left. I don't create music like that. That's not how I choose to express myself. However, there's a market for that. And I just don't. Currently, I create because I am in a pocket. I have to go purchase instrumentals. I have a studio in my house, but it's still got to send it off to get mixed and mastered and all of that. So I don't have the income to produce a song just for fun. It has to have a direction for it. I have to, sometimes I'm going through things. I need to get things off of my chest. So I have to write it this particular way, because I know there's people out there that are going through the same particular thing that I am. However, that's leaving the door closed for that market of people who want to hear songs about their grandma getting hit with bazookas. You dig? And I know better as a creative to leave that on the table. And, I was saying my daughter, she 11 years old, and she be trying to rap. I mean, she does rap. I ain't gonna lie. She freestyled for about 2 hours while we was coming back from Texas one day. Just any beat that I had, she was just getting it. So she's been giving me ideas of things that I can write and things that I can say. So, it just gets to the point where once I start getting back in my production bag and creating my own instrumentals, I will have that I don't know the word currently, but I'll be able to make music that's just for the fun of it, just to do it. Not saying that I'm currently not doing just for the fun of it music, but there's a little serious note behind it, because, I want to make sure that if I put something out there and I put the money behind it and I put the marketing to get into the right hands, get to the right people and all that, that's a whole nother thing on its own. However, if I just want to do something just to do it and put it out there just because I want to talk about me eating milk and cookies or whatnot, then I want to be able to make a song like that and not have that taken from my bottom line, because I made the beat, I did the mixing, I did the mastering, I put it out there, and wherever it goes, I'm not worried about, I paid $300 for this beat and I had to pay $400 for this to get mixed, mastered, and produced. And now I got to upload it to Spotify, and now it has to do so many numbers just so for me to see a return from that. Then that's a whole nother thing as far as me just creating the beat and me just doing whatever to it and putting the mix master to it on my own and inputting it out there on Spotify or whatever it is, just because I would see a better income return from that than from something that I'm putting money into heavily, so it's just like I said, I am the algorithm. I create it. I curate it. I don't necessarily want to follow any trends, because following trends takes away from me. There's a dude, where he did that, the bald head nigga. I think that's what it was at one point in time. He used that flow and he used that same thing for everything he did afterwards. And you don't hear from him now. He did his thing then, but like that 2 months that he was that dude for 2 months, I'm not trying to be that guy based upon chasing the algorithm. I chase my own art form and my own art craft, you know what I mean? And I hone it at that. You talking to somebody who's been literally writing since I was 9. I've been in the music industry since 2006, like legit in the industry. I did the song with MC Breed in 2004, I really seasoned this artistry that I got going on. So I take it, sometimes I might take it too serious. Who knows?
I get you. First of all, I want to shout out Miami XO. He was the guy who created the song Bazooka. The reason why I'm shouting him out is I had posted, I thought it was so silly, and that post gave me 1 million likes on it. I just thought the song was silly, tagged him in it, and I said, this song was silly, but I liked it because it was funny. And then I didn't know expect to do a hit and 1 million plays on TikTok, but that was pretty dope though. If he ever sees this episode, if I can give him shout out to him. But I have another question that I'm thinking about and see what you think about this one. Okay, what's something about the independent grind that people romanticize about, but really, in reality, it's way harder than they expected?
There's a lot that people romanticize about, not having a label and all this other extra stuff. One of the main things is that I did this on my own. That is not something to brag about. Once again, if you recording, if you making a beat, you recording, you writing, you mixing, you mastering, you shooting your own videos, you printing your own merchandise, and you creating your own CD cover artwork, and you creating your own posters, and if you're doing all of those things on your own and you're successful at that, fine, kudos for her. In the same breath, those things can be outsourced. You dig? Not saying you have to outsource your writing or outsource your recording or whatnot, but there are people who have studios. There are people who do mixing and mastering. There are people who do artwork. There are people who do merchandise. There are people who do shows. And there's all these things that you do not have to do on your own. It's not a badge of independence. It takes a team to actually do this. You dig? That's why I shout out so many people by name, because man, these are people who helped me along in my journey. I do what I do because I'm a solo artist for sure, but I got a group of cats that I work with specifically. You dig? I just put up the EP with Killjoy. That's my man's. We were able to come together and do that. And because I had a portion and he had a portion, we were able to come together and get this project flawless. You know what I mean? It's not a badge of honor to do things on your own for sure in this independent grind. Just because you independent don't mean that you are by yourself, or you should be by yourself. Right. Man, you definitely need to take into account that, there are other people that can actually take you to a whole nother level, and just even tap on not having a record label. Yeah, you might need a deal. You might need an independent deal. You might need a publishing deal. You might need a distribution deal. You know what I mean? Just because you got a CD and you didn't put it out there, or you got a project and you didn't put it out there on streaming sites, that don't necessarily mean that you out here being independent. You know what I mean? You just doing things on your own. So that's not something that I feel these cats, I can't say that they should be romanticizing, but it's not something that's worth romanticizing if that's the case.
Yeah. So in mind of that, do you feel that it is okay what LaRussell did by building his own, and because he was being missed out in certain places and certain levels, he joined, Jay-Z and them, Live Nation. He joined them. He says the reason why is because some of those rooms he couldn't get into, instantly he got into once he made a deal with Jay-Z. Do you feel that, by going ahead, even compromising with Jay-Z, is a bad thing or was it a good thing for him to do what he did?
I can't speak on what that man doing for himself. Like that's his business. For like, I'm not a Lil Russell fan, and it's not because I'm hating on him or nothing like that. I just haven't tapped into what he does.
Yeah.
I see what he does, but I don't listen to his music. I don't listen to a lot of people's music but like in the same breath, I don't feel I'm qualified to really actually speak on that. However, just in the general sense, he said he was trying to get on doors. And he signed with Jay-Z to get in these doors. I mean, do you really want to be behind these doors? Do you really want what's on the other side of these doors? Or is that just a good look? Is that your direction? Is that, is this where you want to be at? Or I heard him say like he was spending millions and he really only breaking even. You know what I mean? But like, it just depends on the individual, like Drake, he got that $1 million deal. That was it $500 million deal? But like, that's what he wanted. You know what I mean? That's what he wanted. Now he's finally out of his contract with UMG. So like, he's an independent artist at this point, but with a name like Drake, you know what I mean? Like, what does that actually really mean? You know what I mean? Like, is he still going to do 1 million records? You know what I mean? When he drops a song, it's like this. It just depends on what you want to do. Like I started off earlier and I said, if I was making $30,000, $40,000 a year, that would make me job optional, and that's good enough for me. I would rather be able to full-time create music than to bounce from a full-time job and try to make music. I'd rather be making the same amount of money that I'm making currently, full-time creating music. And that's a win for me. That's a complete win for me. I would be able to be at home with my family. I would be able to maneuver with them and still be able to bring income in. I would be able to not worry about if I'm pleasing my masters, if you will. I have to show up on work. I have to show up on time. I have to do a certain quota. I can't leave home early because I feel bad. I have to make 40 hours a week. Otherwise, my bottom line ain't going to be where it is and I might get evicted. On the other hand, it's nothing for me to write a song a day. Like, it's nothing for me to write a song a day. It's nothing for me to go out and perform 3, 4, 5 songs a week or 3, 4, 5 shows a week. Like, for real, I did the numbers. If I'm getting $500 a show, all I really need is 3 shows a week. And that's more money than I'm making at my job. You dig? For real. So like doing about 4 or 5 shows a week, that covers taxes. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about anything. That's a show a day. If I do a show a day at $500 a show, you know what I mean? Like, I'm replacing my job. I'm replacing my income. That is a win for me currently. Dig? So anything excess and over and above that, I'm not worried about whatever doors are there. Everything is going to come. You dig? Especially when it gets to the point where, I currently charge $600 for a verse. So, if it get to a point where I have to increase that and I have to charge $1,500 for a verse, all I need to do is sell 1 verse a week. And, my turnaround time for writing a verse is usually about 2 to 3 weeks. And that's currently based upon my current workload. But like, if I'm getting paid $1,500 a verse, I'm going to turn that verse around in a day or less, just because I got 8 hours to sit down and write to your song. I don't have 8 hours straight at all. At any given point in the 7-day period, I don't have 8 hours straight. Even on the weekends, like I be doing so much on the weekends, it's crazy. I just don't have 8 hours straight to dedicate to music. You dig? Like, I barely have 8 hours a week, so like that's the difference for it right now. Once it get to that point, I don't see myself needing to kick down any doors or be let behind any doors because I'm creating my own lane, and grind is harder because I'm going places that nobody's ever been before, like I'm doing it my way. I'm doing things the way I want it to be done. However, the people that are already out there on this highway, they see what I'm doing. And if they want to bring me on to what they got going on, jumping on the song or featuring me on the song, featuring me on the album, featuring me on the show, featuring me on the tour. That's cool. I'm open to that, like I am, but I don't necessarily need somebody to, I don't need to conjoin with somebody in order for them to allow me to get to where I want to be, if that makes sense, And like I said, it's no knock on Lil Russell because Lil Russell doing what Lil Russell wants to do. I don't know what he wants to do. He know what he want to do. So, only he, Jay-Z know where they gonna try to take this. You dig? That don't concern me at all. That's their business. You dig? Like for real. But on the flip side, the Russell throwing back parties in his backyard, and he bought all of that equipment on his own accord, like that's a win to me. That's a win to me. I don't know his logistics. I'm not in that man's pocketbooks, but like for me, yeah, that's a win. You dig? I would do it a little differently because I'm a different individual, so like, shout out to the Russell for doing what he do.
Okay. So we mentioned also Drake. I don't know all the financial situation, but I have an idea, which is basically, I'm pretty sure we heard of the $500 million he got for dropping 3 albums. So what he did, of course, he dropped 3 albums in one night. He filled out his contract obligations. Now, the situation is this. Now, by him falling out of that obligation, he has the right to leave the majors. Now, of course, if I was the majors and you were Drake and you're about to leave, and you just dropped 3 albums, you feel, what I asked in the contract, I will be trying to give you at least a double your bag. Let me send you $900,000 to get you signed back for 3 more albums. Would you, if you were Drake, take that deal, reaching the $900 million or even $1 billion for 3 more albums? Or would you say, no, this freedom is worth way more with this kind of momentum, and I will stick to that? Which way would you go?
I mean, me personally, I don't need to have that type of money. I already got $500 million. Why I need another $500 million? After so much money, what else can you do with it? What are you trying to really accomplish? Like for real, like the average man probably don't need no more than 10,000 or 10 million, 20 million at tops for a lifetime. You dig? Like for real, I'm saying that's being an average family man. I got 3 children. I'm trying to get married again eventually. You know what I mean? Like I want things, and I know my children want things, and I know my spouse gonna want things. So 10 to 20 million for my lifetime was cool. 500 million? I don't know. Like that's too much luxury for someone like me. Like I don't need to sign my soul over for that type of income. And, I ain't talking about no Illuminati types. I'm talking about signing my everything. Just because Drake fulfilled this contract don't mean he keep his masters. UGM keep all of them, his whole catalog. They got his entire catalog. Drake has to come back and make more music. He ain't getting paid off of none of that no more. He ain't getting paid off of nothing he's ever done.
He's
at all, period. He just got an upfront pay. And he has to make a whole nother catalog. I don't care. There's no amount of money right now that could give me to give you my catalog. Like, if I got some songs, I got heat. And if somebody offered me $1 million for 30, 40 of my songs, that just let me know I can make $100 million off my songs. You dig? Like I'd sell some of them, but I can't sell you my whole catalog. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy to me. And I have to wait like 35 years to get it back.
Now, here's a situation I did bring up earlier in my podcast. It was a certain situation to see if you already kind of answered it, but in this situation, let's see what happens. Okay. Let's say your most recent song now blows up a little bit, right? But it gets heard by a person who's making a movie, a Tubi movie, because they want to make a movie about a person from your neighborhood that grew up, in difficult situations, but they was also freestyling, trying to become a rapper. And they call themselves Young Boo instead of Nük. So, but they want to buy your catalog, your most recent album, and make this dude Young Boo, the new rapper, come out of your city, a whole story about him, but they're willing to pay for your catalog, $80,000 and 2% of the movie. You taking the deal?
No.
It's a Tubi movie.
Nah, $80,000 is like I said, $80,000. We're looking at it from being a realistic standpoint. $80,000 is barely 2 years of my income that I make from my job. You dig? Like I'm basically signing up so that I don't have to work for 2 years. And then after that, I only get 2% of the Tubi movie. Right. Who knows how much this movie is really going to do? You dig? Even with my music attached to it. You dig? Who knows how much this is really going to do? And then to take it a step further, that's why contracts are important. Yeah, that's why contracts are important because, me personally, just me knowing the business how I know it, I would want that to revert back to me at some point. Right. And we're talking about like at some point in recent times. I'm not waiting no 30 years for it to revert back to me. You can buy this, you can buy the ownership rights to it for X amount of years, no more than 10. And then whatever you've done during that 10 years, that's fine. You can make all the money you want after that. But yeah, I need that back for sure. I need that. Like, I seen the interview. I didn't even see the whole interview, but I seen a portion of an interview with JD. And JD was all like, man, your music catalog is like any type of investment, like real estate. Sometimes you can sell off a couple houses, you know what I mean? Sometimes you want to hold on to some houses and wait for the market to appreciate a little bit more. He said back when when he first started, he had no idea the type of catalog or impact he was going to make in this industry. But at this point in time, he can sell off all the songs he wrote with Criss Cross. He can sell off all the songs he created and wrote with the Brat. You can sell off Jagged Edge. You can sell off the Mariah Carey songs. You can sell off, he has worked with a lot of different individuals, and that doesn't take away from what he done. He still has other things. He has the Ushers and, like just the things that he did the whole album with Jay-Z, I do believe. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that he can do. Did he do an album? I know he did a couple songs. Either way, you know what I mean? Like JD has it to the point where he could sell off a portion or pieces or songs or albums from his catalog, and it doesn't affect him. You know what I mean? This one thing, I can't remember who did it, but maybe it was Irv Gotti sold off some of the Murder Inc. catalog, and I think he got $100 million for that. He did. And that was before he passed away, rest in peace. But that's fine and dandy. You dig? Like for real. But like nobody's getting paid for that. You dig? I think Ja Rule got some of his catalog, you did, but like in the same breath, like nobody's getting paid from that. He sold that off, and now the other people are getting paid from that catalog. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like it's that thing. When you are artist and you own your masters, you are a lot different than a producer who owns their masters. You're also a lot different than a record label who owns producers and artists masters. You did? Like I'm like the artist. Let's just say Nelly, for example, he got a couple of different albums. I think he might even throw the same Lunatics involved in that. That's what he got. He don't produce no records. You did? Yeah. Let's not talk about writing credit, but he don't produce no records. And then let's do JD. He didn't produce a lot of people records. He didn't wrote a lot of people records. You dig? And he even wrote his own records. But that's not saying that like Jimmy Iovine, who ain't wrote or produced a damn thing, but he owns fucking Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent, and other people who are other signed. And then we're just talking hip hop. We're talking about alternative rock and country, whatever. I don't know the extent of Interscope's catalog, you know what I mean? But Jimmy Iovine gets paid off of all of that, you know what I mean? For sure, you dig? Like, and that's just the nature of it. If Jimmy Iovine decided to sell off 50 Cent catalog, he could possibly do that. You know what I mean? And that's just throwing things out there because I don't know the structure of these people's business like that. But you know what I mean? That's just an example.
If you were to make a song about being a father and the ways you said it that really hit people, like say, for example, as a line you said or a part of the verse, and it was so profound to other people that it became like a meme and a movement and stuff like that. Would you take more pride and continue to make more music according, about being a father? Or would you say, you know what, I'm glad y'all had, y'all fuck with it, but I do other stuff too? Or would you try to continue to make more music about what is popular as far as your music at that time?
I wouldn't want to ride my own coattails, if that makes sense. Like when you said that this Tupac popped in mind with Dear Mama, he only wrote one Dear Mama. You dig? Like he didn't try to make another mama song. You dig? Like he wrote that because that's how he felt. You dig? He didn't write another Brenda's Got a Baby. You know what I mean? That was that moment. That was that thing. You dig? Like that's how he felt. And I wouldn't want to try to recreate something that I've done that sparked the type of movement. I would rather try to spark another movement in another way, as opposed to, like I wrote a song about my son, and then now I have another son. I'm gonna write a song about him, and I'm gonna write a song about I can speak about fatherhood and how that affected me and how that changed me, and then move forward. You dig? And like just like I can talk about it in another way. Like I can bring it back up. Like if I wrote a song about fatherhood, and that's that. If I'm doing a feature on somebody else's song, I can do a callback to that fatherhood song. You know what I mean? Like just like, oh, yeah, now I got 3 kids instead of 1, whatever the hell it might be. You know what I mean? Like you can hear my growth as opposed to me trying to paint this picture, expand upon it. That's like, for lack of a better terminology, that's like Leonardo da Vinci painting the Mona Lisa, and then 20 years later, he gonna paint Mona Lisa's brother, right next to her. You dig? Like that, that's like,
Right,
you know what I mean? Like that's, yeah, like, sure, I like this picture of this one. Let me add her a brother or something like that. Let me give her a dog. You know what I mean? Like that's just like not the right route that I would want to take. You dig?
Man. So you definitely couldn't be that kind of artist that, like, man, where that one song, whether it was about fatherhood, and then like, man, you don't want to be that brother. Like, man, when you hear Young Nük, you hear fatherhood. Like, you know what I mean? It kind of like pigeonhole your sound.
You couldn't pigeonhole my sound, I mean, just currently, you just couldn't pigeonhole my sound because I talk about everything, what I mean? I really literally talk about everything. But if that's how you remember me, if that's how you, like, I say this, I wrote a song called The Coldest. It's on that art form project. And that song is 20 years old. There are people who say that they've never heard a song like that written ever again. You know what I mean? Like, that's 20 years ago. Nobody's ever done a song like that. And I've heard a lot of songs. There's even, I think Freddie Gibbs got a song called Coldest, but like, I've never listened to it just because, like I said, I don't listen to a lot of people's music, but like, I'll kind of want to check it out just to see what he's talking about. But in the same breath, I guarantee you it don't sound like what I was doing. You know what I mean? And I've never tried to write another song like that, like on no type of level, but I always refer back to me being cold, or me spitting some cold bars, or doing cold euphemisms and cold metaphors and cold similes. But like, I'm not trying to top that particular song. That song was a moment for me, and I just let that stand as what it is.
Yeah. So I have this question I ask usually artists, but I have another version, a new version of it. I'm going to try with you, see how you would answer this situation.
Yeah.
It's a wholly new one. Okay. So here we go. Let's just say I'm a beat maker, right? And I sell you a beat that is goddamn dope. It's one of the dopest you ever heard in your life, right? And when you write to it, it's just like so easy for you, right? And you instantly write a hit. Everybody they love it, to the point where online, someone from Power, as they, TV show Power, they want to go ahead and use that song in the next season. So you send it to them and they accept it, and they go ahead and tell you, we cannot use this song. Come to find out, the person you bought this beat from used 100% AI. The question is, do you go ahead and try to get your money back for that beat, or just keep writing it since everybody's loving it anyway, the way it is?
You know what? That don't got nothing to do with me, for real. You dig? Like, that falls more back on the creator than it falls on me. I say that because I take pride in the fact that I don't use ChatGPT to write my verses. Right. So I bet the producer would take the same type of pride that they ain't taking AI to create their melodies. Like, these things come from a place in the music is a whole nother language. You dig? And if you can't speak that language and you need the machine to speak the language for you, then it's not yours. You dig? Right. It's just an expression of what you want to portray. No matter how much arrangement you do, and if you're not creating it from the ground up, then like that's the same thing like ghostwriting. I'm not opposed to having a ghostwriter help me out, but like, as far as someone giving me a song and being like, yo, rap this, dog, like, that's gonna take a lot from me, because I sit down, I bar out my tracks, I still use pencil and paper. You know what I mean? I don't use the technology to write my songs. So, like, I would take kind of offense to that if you were to give me a whole song. However, I see the beauty of it. Like, this is the music business. You dig? So there's a business behind using a ghostwriter. However, that's not something that I would want. And as a producer, I would think that you would want to feel the same way. You wouldn't want to use a ghost producer. You would want this to be something that you have standalone on your own. And as far as the song, if I wrote to your AI produced beat, it was hot, you dig? And I mean, that's it. I did my part. You didn't do your part, you dig? Like, so like, the main thing is, I did what I did to the song, and I can use another producer You dig? I don't necessarily have to use your beat. I can use a producer who actually make their beat and do a remix to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's my words. What do you mean? Like, you can't take my words because I put them to your beat. That don't make no sense. You dig? So, like, I mean, it just, that, like I said, it's a business behind it all. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I don't have to go in that direction that you feed, and just because that's what it is. It's just, you know, this is how we linked up and this is how we got it together. So let's do it. If not, then, you know.
Yeah. See, only reason I bring this up because I can see this happening in the future. People out there buying beats and not realizing that's 100% made through Suno. And they just pay full price for it.
Yeah.
And they send it to like TV shows and movies. And of course, we all know that there are apps out there that can let you know if something is used with the AI or not. So for that to happen, and especially not to tell it to an artist when you sell it to them, it's completely dirty, number one. Number two, it's bad business. Number three, who knows how you going to react if you see face to face and you lost the chance to, to be on Power because of me.
Yeah.
Not because of how dope your song is, but you lost
wild.
You know that shit. Yeah.
That's why you gotta, nobody does artist development no more, but you need to get with a producer and you need to stick with your producer and you need to create with your producer. You know, I got about 3 or 4 different producers that I've been going through faithfully for the last 10, 15, 20 years. You dig? Like, these individuals, they know my sound or they create and craft for my sound. And that's that. And then that's the reason why I'm also going to school to learn how to produce my own tracks, like, officially. So, like, look, I don't got time. I really don't got time.
Right.
It made me mad a couple of years ago when I was looking for some beats, and I went to a couple of different sites, and these cats were taking songs from like the 90s, not even from the 80s, 70s. They taking songs from the 90s and just putting hi-hats and drums behind it and calling that a whole new beat. And I'm like, dog, don't you know that's Rock the Boat by Aaliyah, dog? That's a copy. You copywriting to do that. Did you clear that sample? Cause you sampling right now and you ain't even really sampling. You stealing because sampling is a whole nother art form, you dig? But like, you literally just put some drums behind that and call that a whole new beat. That's wild. How you gonna slow down the instrumental and then put drums behind it and call it something else? That's just wild to me. So like, it's just a new game out here. And like, you either adapt to it or you just keep doing what you've been doing and hope people, I say it like this, I said this to somebody recently, but like, in my age bracket, there's nobody really spitting like this, you dig, for real. And the beauty of it is that lane is wide open. You know what I mean? It's just wide open. Like, I think Jay might be like a year or two older than me. Wayne probably like 3 or 4 years older than me. Kendrick is like a year or two younger than me. Drake a year or two younger than me. You know what I mean? Wale probably around the same age. You know, like, it's like there those individuals I name. And then there's nobody else. You know what I mean? Everybody else is either underground or whatever. So like,
rapper in a Billboard. No 20-year-old rappers in a Billboard
at all.
None.
So like it's just that, So I got my own lane. I got my own things that I'm talking about. Like Andre 3000 said, nobody wants to hear about me getting a colonoscopy or nothing like that. You know what I mean? Like he said, he's speaking about 50-year-old shit, and maybe they do. You know what I mean?
I think they do.
He's a creative to the point.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, there's people who don't know. You know what I mean? There's people who don't know that you need to get a finger up your ass, you dig, when you get a certain age. And if you're able to articulate your experience through that, then put it to music and make it sound good, you actually gonna help somebody out. Like I said earlier about health. You know what I mean? That's just, man, if I can spark a movement, I ain't trying to spark no movement, people get fingers up their ass, nothing like that. But like, man, if I can spark a movement of you taking better care of your health, that's what it is, Like, I can see, man, eating better, exercising, man, just watching what you eat, stop eating fried food all the time. You know what I mean? Like, exercise, do some, man, I got a watch on my wrist that counts my steps. I walk on any given weekday, I walk about 15 to 20,000 steps every day. You dig? Like, that's almost 10 miles. I walk 10 miles a day. You dig? Like, people barely getting 10 steps out because they sitting on their phone on the couch all day watching Netflix. scrolling and everything like that. Man, get up off the couch, you know what I mean? And go walk around in your neighborhood. You don't even know the name of your neighbors. The people out here don't even know the name of their next door neighbor because they too busy just being selfish and being to their own little world and their social media. They in social media and they in social life. You dig? You need the social life. You need the social life. You dig?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I do think that there is a lot of music that could be made for people who are, 30 and up, especially 40 and 50. They really, I can see it, those people right there, they really need music that they can feel. Because all they have is the old stuff, to make something current, would be good. Like, for example, Carlos Miller had made a statement, what the song is called? I forgot what the song was called, but basically the song was, it was about, I've been fucking on your mom. You know what I mean? When you see that door closed, understand, I've been fucking on your mom.
Yeah, listen, man, as a divorced single father, you did. Mm-hmm. I like single moms. That's it. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. But yeah, you can take it right there. Because I know brothers out there like it the way you like it. And they want to hear a song about it.
Man, got to have a KID if you want to be with me.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. But I have responsibility.
Yeah, you dig? Like, man, I hate it.
I can see it. Yeah, there's a movement for it. There is a movement for it.
Yeah.
So you can get creative.
I know so, for sure.
Yeah, so I do believe that there is music out there that could be made that's untouched. And I think the more artists start doing that, the more they start to create a cult following, especially for that age bracket. It just hasn't been made yet, but I can see it. You know what I mean?
Like what you said earlier, like the older rappers, they stuck in their personas.
Yeah.
Like they can't evolve out of, like Snoop Dogg, a grandfather. You don't never hear him talk about his grandkids. He's still talking about hoes and smoking weed. You dig? Like, that's kind of stale at this point. You dig? Like he almost 60 years old. 60-year-old gangbanger, and he's still talking about the same thing. Like that don't.
Nah, it don't translate.
Like that
don't translate.
You know what I mean? I can't connect to that. You dig?
60-year-old gangbanger don't translate.
Man, that part. You dig? Like you stuck in that persona. There's no growth. You dig? Like, and that's calling out Snoop because Snoop is known and recognized, and he just dropped the album. Check it out. But in the same breath, like, man, that goes to a lot of people that came up when we came up. They, like, Dre is one of them ones that could relate to us. You dig? But he just chooses not to. He want to make flute music. That's the evolution of Dre, though. You dig? And, like, that's fine. I don't take away from that. But in the same breath, man, he could be talking about some things. He be talking about some things. Like, he dropped a song about him losing his mom. I think it was a verse on Kanye West or T.I. something. But he dropped a song about him losing his mom. And I'm like, man, dog, like we at the age where we gonna lose our parents. You dig? Like for real, our parents are getting sick. You dig? Like for real, and there's nobody here around us. There's no, and not saying it's their responsibility, but there's no music being made for those people who don't have a core group of friends that they could talk to about this type of stuff. Yeah. You're going to lose your mom and you're going to be stuck. And then there's no music that's going to be able to help pull you through that or help make you feel that somebody's there. You dig? Like, you know what I mean? Like the song I Got Grandma's Love. That's just like a dude. When I first released it 20 years ago, a dude was like, man, this is the next song next to Dear Mama. And I didn't understand it at that time. I was like, man, I took the compliment, but I just like, man, that's crazy. But now I get it. Cause since then, nobody been talking about their grandma. You dig? Like nobody's giving their grandma that love. You dig? Like for real, they shout out their mom, but they don't shout out their grandma. I was one of them people that was raised by my grandma. So, like that's where that song came from. You dig? Like, and I know there's people out there like that, but they not being able to articulate it like that. So, I guarantee you, I could find a song about taking somebody butt and robbing somebody, popping some drugs and things. I can find a song like that easy. And everybody got a song like that. You dig? Yeah. So, it just is what it is.
I would love to see a song that had an idea. If you would have made a song that'd be almost like, trapped in the closet, but instead the situation is you about to get an ass whooping from mom.
That's crazy. But no, listen, ain't no song like that. You dig? Like I'm telling you, I be telling my children, dude, like,
I'm familiar with that situation.
Man,
You know,
that's
you start walking real slow to that bedroom when she call you.
man, because your report card came in, you tried to take it, and then she already took it. You dig? So like, you know, you gotta make sure that you got it. Man, you already know. You got that. You ever get that phone call? When I get home, I'm gonna whoop your ass, and like you gotta sit down until she get home. Man, yeah, you get home at 4 o'clock and she get home at 9, and you gotta wait them hours. You gotta wait them 5 hours to get your ass whooped. That's crazy. Nobody got a song like that. You dig? So like, yeah, the anxiety is real.
Yeah, really real. Especially if you try to run away and they get that death grip on your arm, and you try to keep running and they got you.
I got that death grip on my leg a couple times. I'm bringing flashbacks to me right quick. That's crazy.
Me, I was an overactor. I used to roll on the ground, all kind of shit. I was
acting.
I went over to the window. I wrote help on the window with my finger. I was doing too much.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I told my dad hit me in the balls one good time. So every time he hit me, he'd start trying to whoop me. I tell him he was hitting me in my balls, and he'd stop. And then it got to the point where I was taking his belts and I was tying them up in mini figures and shit like that. Like, you was not about to whoop me with no tied up belt, looked like a rope. So like, yeah, it was just one of them things. Yeah, my children back here laughing. This is great. Yeah, I didn't even know they was here.
But it's a hit, right?
Yeah, because I'm getting the ass whooped. For real.
Man, I enjoyed this conversation with you. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Facts. It was definitely dope.
Yeah, I definitely want you to go ahead and let people know, what do we have looking forward to moving forward when we see you post? What do we see you? What should we be looking out for?
You know, I'm part of this love compilation from My Block Entertainment. I got a song on there, repeat, and I'm not sure when that's going to get released on the worldwide scheme, but like definitely I'm gonna be posting about that. As far as this summer, I got some things I'm working on this summer for real. I know I want to release some music this summer when I have some time, when my children go to Texas. So, you know, I'm going to, you know, just do a little bit more posting. I got songs that I've done recently that I just want to post. You know, I've been trying to post a song a month. That's like at least a verse or a song a month. And, you know, I'm on track. I was a little late last month, but I posted one. My man's Ill Smith. We just knocked out a track that dropped on the 1st of this month. Pull Up in the Spaceship. So that would be like the last thing I didn't release. And then I got a song. Yeah, no, I like that track. I really do. The song is real dope. And then I got a song on the DJ's EP that's releasing. I don't have a release on that one yet, but the song's called Book Bag. And yeah, we went in on that one. And then me and Killjoy, we working on another project for sure. He asked me to jump on the track, and then he asked me to write to some songs that he had going on. So we just gonna piece together this EP. Probably, hopefully, get that done by the end of the year, and maybe release it at the top of 27. And then I got 3 EPs myself that I want to release over the summer. Man, I just want to get out all this old music that I have. You know, like I want to be in a position to, like you said, my fans, the ones that like me, the ones that have been looking for me and waiting for me to drop songs. You know, I don't be releasing music. And, you know, one of the main reasons is the game's just crazy. And I had to get all my business together. And that's where that team thing comes into place. Because it's just me. You dig? I would love to hire somebody who would do the background, the paperwork for me. But, you know, at this point, I just can't. So, you know, and if I can't, then, you know, I just got to wait till I can get around to doing that. So, you know, once I get all my registers and my copyrights together, then I'm just going to drop all this music that I've been holding on to. I'm going to do 3 5-track EPs, and then I'll probably double back and re-record them songs so I can update it and drop a little physical, like a 9-track physical of the songs that's on there. And then, you know, doing some merchandise, and then I'm putting the final touches on the last book that I wrote. 2 books last year. What was the first one? The Royalty Selection Guide 101 and then 102. And then I got 5 Things You Should Know About the Music Business. That's the book I'm working on currently.
Where can we find these? The books that you have out, where can we find those?
I got those on Gumroad, but if you want to actually find out anything that I got going on, you know, just tap in on my webpage, NUKLINK, and you know, that has everything. It has my social medias, it has my web pages, it has the books. You know, it has those things that you can get in contact with me on there for sure. Yeah, that'd be the best place to get all the things I got going on there.
Okay. So before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one more question. The question is this.
For sure.
Is there a chance that you not only can come back, but bring Killjoy on so we can get information about that process of that track, the album you're working on with him?
You know what? I gotta work with him because I think he currently in Thailand or something like that. You dig? And he be moving, but I could definitely tap in with him and see what's going on. I can definitely try to get him on.
Yeah, that would be dope, man. That would be great. So look, you guys, if you only came to this live because you know that the Young Man Nük and you want to see him, you want to hear his information, and don't understand who the fuck this dude is with the mask on, understand that this will be on YouTube. This whole episode will be on YouTube. Clips will be coming out very soon. Can you do me a favor? I know you're here for Nük. Do me a favor and go ahead and follow Support Cha Boi Podcast on YouTube, because I can only make this episode go farther with your help. So if you can, make sure if you came here to listen to Young Nük speak about, the real things that he's been going through and things that he's moving forward to do in the future, all I ask is just hit subscribe. And if you came here to see me and you see me have a connection, I will be tagging his YouTube on there. Follow that too. Make sure y'all do that. I want to thank you guys for coming to the Support Cha Boi Podcast. Until next time, peace.